They say love can build you up, a towering monument of shared dreams and whispered promises. But I learned it could also be the most potent wrecking ball, especially when wielded by a betrayer. And when that monument crumbled, I decided I wouldn't just walk away from the rubble. I would ensure the architect responsible was buried beneath the very foundation he'd so meticulously crafted for himself. My name is Amelia, and for 5 years my life revolved around Marcus. He was everything I thought I wanted, everything I believed I deserved. We met at a charity gala, a cliché straight out of a rom-com, but it felt utterly real. I was a digital marketing strategist, thriving in the fast-paced world of brand building and online presence. He was a rising star in architecture, known for his innovative, sustainable designs and his effortlessly charming public persona. He had that rare blend of boyish good looks and an old-soul intelligence, a man who could discuss classical literature one moment and the latest advancements in smart home technology the next. Our relationship was a whirlwind of shared passions and ambitious plans. We bonded over late-night talks about the future, the kind where you map out careers, children's names, and the exact shade of paint for your dream living room. He'd sketch out fantastical designs for our hypothetical home on restaurant napkins, his eyes alight with a vision I felt privileged to share. I, in turn, helped him refine his online presence, advising him on his firm's social media strategy, polishing his professional profiles, and even ghostwriting a few articles for industry publications under his name. I poured my expertise, my heart, and my very essence into his success, seeing it as our success. We lived together in a beautiful loft apartment overlooking the city, a space we'd meticulously decorated, each piece a testament to our shared taste and growing life. My family adored him, my friends envied our seemingly perfect bond. I saw a future so clear, so bright, I could almost taste it. Marriage, a family, a life intertwined, built on trust and unwavering devotion. I believed in him, in us, with every fibre of my being. He was not just my partner. He was my best friend, my confidant, the anchor in my often chaotic world. He was the man who made me feel safe, cherished, and utterly, completely loved. The first crack in our perfect facade wasn't a thunderclap, but a whisper. It began subtly, a gradual shift I initially dismissed as stress from his increasingly demanding career. Late nights at the office became more frequent, his phone a constant companion, often face down or clutched protectively. He grew distant, his once attentive gaze now often elsewhere, a wall slowly rising between us. I'd ask about his day, and his answers would be vague, clipped. Our intimate moments became fewer, mechanical, lacking the spark that once defined us. My gut, a primal alarm system I'd always trusted, began to scream. I tried to rationalize it, to blame myself. Was I not supportive enough? Was I too demanding? I even suggested a weekend getaway, hoping to rekindle what felt like a fading flame. He agreed, but his enthusiasm felt forced, a performance rather than genuine desire. The truth, when it finally revealed itself, hit me with the force of a physical blow. We were packing for that very getaway, a romantic escape to a secluded cabin in the mountains. He was in the shower, humming off-key, seemingly oblivious. His phone, which he usually guarded like a state secret, lay on the bedside table, vibrating with a new message. My heart hammered against my ribs. I knew instinctively that this was it. The message wasn't from a client or a colleague. It was from a contact simply labeled J. My fingers trembled as I picked up the phone. The notification preview flashed. Can't wait for our trip next month, my love. Thinking of you always. XXJ. My breath hitched. Next month? We were going away this weekend. A cold dread seeped into my bones, chilling me to the marrow. My hands, surprisingly steady despite the internal tremor, unlocked his phone using the fingerprint I'd known for years. My mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation. A friend, a joke, but the my love and XX were undeniable. I scrolled through his messages, and there it was, a separate chat thread hidden deep within an archive, a secret world I had never known existed. Jay wasn't just Jay, her full name was Jessica, a junior architect at his firm, barely out of college. The messages unfolded like a cruel, twisted novel, declarations of love, intimate details of their clandestine meetings, plans for their own romantic getaway next month, using the very same cabin we'd booked last year. Pictures, too. Selfies of them together, laughing, kissing, in places I recognized. The park where we used to walk our imaginary dog, the cafe where we had our first date. My world didn't just crack, it shattered into a million irreparable pieces. The bathroom door opened. Marcus emerged, a towel wrapped around his waist, a carefree smile on his face. He saw the phone in my hand, saw my face, and his smile vanished. His eyes, usually so warm and inviting, hardened with a flicker of panic. "Amelia, what are you doing?" he asked, his voice betraying a hint of accusation, as if I were the one in the wrong. "What am I doing?" My voice was a choked whisper, then it rose, raw and trembling with disbelief. "What are you doing, Marcus? What is this?" I thrust the phone at him, the screen displaying the incriminating messages. His face drained of color. He stammered, denying gaslighting. "It's nothing, Amelia, just a colleague. She's overzealous. I told her to stop." His lies were flimsy, transparent. The evidence was overwhelming. "You're overreacting. You're being paranoid." But I wasn't. The proof was right there. His attempts to deflect, to make me feel crazy, only fueled the inferno building inside me. "Don't lie to me, Marcus," I spat, the words tasting like ash. "Don't you dare, I saw everything, the trip, the my love, the pictures." He eventually broke, not with remorse, but with a pathetic attempt at justification. "It meant nothing, Amelia. It was a mistake, a moment of weakness. You've been so busy with work I felt neglected. Neglected, after all I had poured into him, into us." His words were a dagger twisting deeper into the wound. He painted himself as the victim, me as the distant, career-obsessed girlfriend. He didn't apologize for hurting me, for betraying my trust, for shattering our future. He apologized for getting caught. In that moment, looking at the man I had loved so fiercely, I saw a stranger. A manipulative, selfish stranger who had systematically dismantled my heart and our life, piece by piece, all while looking me in the eye and professing his undying love. The pain was a living thing, clawing at my throat, burning behind my eyes. But beneath the agony, a cold, hard resolve began to form. He had built his world on lies. I would ensure it crumbled under the weight of his truth. The days that followed were a blur of tears, rage, and a profound, bone-deep emptiness. I moved out of the loft, leaving behind 5 years of memories that now felt poisoned. Every object, every corner of that apartment screamed his betrayal. I stayed with a friend, unable to face my own home, unable to process the magnitude of what had happened. My friends and family rallied around me, their anger on my behalf a small comfort. But their sympathy, while appreciated, felt like a distant echo. My grief was too personal, too raw. Then one morning, as I stared blankly at my reflection, hollow-eyed and ravaged, something shifted. The tears dried. The despair began to recede, replaced by a cold, searing anger. Marcus had taken everything, my trust, my future, my sense of self-worth. He had walked away, seemingly unscathed, ready to continue his ascent, his reputation intact, while I was left to pick up the pieces of a life he had callously destroyed. He was still the charming, successful architect, while I was the heartbroken ex, the forgotten woman. This asymmetry gnawed at me. He valued his public image above all else, his carefully curated persona of integrity and success. It was his most prized possession, the very foundation of his career. And I, with my intimate knowledge of digital landscapes and brand destruction, knew exactly how to dismantle it. My background in digital marketing wasn't just a job. It was a skill set honed over years, a deep understanding of how information spreads, how narratives are built and destroyed, how a public image can be meticulously crafted or utterly annihilated. I had spent my career building brands. Now I would apply those same principles to tearing one down. The first step was research. I wasn't just looking for evidence of the affair, I was looking for patterns, for hypocrisy, for any professional missteps or ethical compromises. I knew his firm's website inside out, his LinkedIn profile, his public statements, his interviews. I started digging. I created an anonymous email account and a burner phone. I reactivated an old, obscure social media profile I hadn't used in years, scrubbing it of any personal identifiers, transforming it into a ghost in the machine. I started by gathering every scrap of evidence I had, screenshots of the texts, the photos, the hotel bookings. I remembered the dates of his late nights and cross-referenced them with the dates of their illicit rendezvous. I even remembered a few times he'd mentioned using his company credit card for client dinners that now, in retrospect, had a sinister ring to them. I downloaded his public project portfolio, his awards, his glowing client testimonials. I wanted to understand the full scope of the empire he had built, so I could precisely target its weak points. My strategy was multifaceted, designed to be slow-burning, then explosive, and ultimately untraceable back to me. I wouldn't just drop a bomb, I would plant a series of carefully timed, strategically placed landmines. Phase 1, the Whisper campaign. I started with the more obscure corners of the internet. Architectural forums, local community groups, even anonymous review sites for workplaces. Using my anonymous profile, I began posting subtle, vague comments. Heard some interesting whispers about unethical practices at Marcus's firm. Or, is it just me, or does Marcus's name seem a little too good to be true? Wonder what skeletons are in that closet. These were whispers designed to plant seeds of doubt, to make people question, to make them look closer. I knew how algorithms worked. Even vague negativity, if consistent, could start to affect search results and public perception. Phase 2, the digital breadcrumbs. Next, I created a series of anonymous blog posts, hosted on a free, untraceable platform. I crafted a narrative not just about infidelity, but about hypocrisy. I didn't mention my name or his initially. I used thinly veiled descriptions. The starchitect with a secret life, the man who built dreams but shattered hearts. I wrote about a charismatic, outwardly ethical architect who was secretly preying on junior staff, using his position of power for illicit affairs, and potentially misusing company resources. I included blurred screenshots of some of the less explicit messages, enough to hint at the truth without revealing everything at once. I also subtly wove in details about his professional projects, hinting at corners cut, promises broken, all under the guise of anonymous tipster concerned about industry ethics. I used SEO tactics to ensure these blog posts would slowly but surely climb the search engine rankings, especially for terms related to his firm and even his name. Phase 3, the public exposure. This was the most crucial and riskiest phase. I created a new, completely anonymous social media profile, a composite persona that appeared to be a concerned industry insider. I chose a platform where professional gossip often thrived. I started sharing the blog posts, tagging relevant industry publications, architectural associations, and even local news outlets. I also started directly messaging a few of his key clients and partners, not with accusations but with concerns and links to the anonymous blog posts. I knew the power of an anonymous tip. It was harder to dismiss, harder to trace, and often led to internal investigations. The real game changer came when I decided to leverage his most public platform, his firm's social media. I had, after all, helped him manage it. I knew the passwords. I had access to their entire digital infrastructure. It was a risky move, but the thought of him continuing to project an image of pristine integrity while I suffered in silence was unbearable. One night, fueled by a potent cocktail of grief and vengeful determination, I logged into his firm's main Instagram account. I didn't post anything immediately. Instead, I carefully prepared. I selected a series of the most damning screenshots of his affair with Jessica, the explicit messages, the undeniable photo, the hotel receipts. I crafted a post that began, "A message from a concerned member of the architectural community. We believe the public has a right to know the true character of those who claim to build our future." And then, I uploaded the images one by one, interspersed with text that detailed his infidelity, his abuse of power, and the hypocrisy of his public image. I even included a screenshot of a conversation where he dismissed a client's concerns about a project's budget, calling them naive, a detail that would certainly resonate with his high-paying clientele. I scheduled the post for 3 a.m., ensuring it would be live for hours before anyone at his firm would likely notice, giving it maximum visibility. I then deleted my access from his system, covering my digital tracks meticulously. The emotional toll during this period was immense. There were moments of doubt, moments where I questioned if I was becoming as bitter and cruel as he was. But then I would remember his smug face, his hollow apologies, his utter lack of remorse, and the cold fury would return, sharpening my resolve. I felt a strange sense of power, a control I hadn't had since the day I discovered his betrayal. It was a dangerous, exhilarating feeling, like walking a tightrope over a chasm of my own making. I was no longer a victim. I was an architect of his downfall, meticulously crafting his ruin as he had crafted mine. The morning after the Instagram post, the internet exploded. My phone, which I had kept on silent, buzzed incessantly with notifications from news alerts and social media trends. The story of the cheating architect went viral. The anonymous blog posts, the whispers in the forums, the concerned insider tips, they all converged into a tsunami of public outrage. I watched, detached yet fascinated, as his carefully constructed world began to unravel. The Instagram post, though eventually deleted by his frantic firm, had been screenshotted and shared thousands of times. Industry blogs picked up the story, followed by local news outlets. His firm issued a boilerplate statement about internal investigations and unprofessional conduct, but the damage was done. Within days, his name was synonymous with scandal. Major clients, wary of association with such public disgrace, began pulling out of projects. His partners, desperate to save the firm's reputation, distanced themselves from him. I heard through the grapevine from a mutual acquaintance that he was suspended, then quietly resigned. The prestigious award he was nominated for was rescinded. His public image, once his greatest asset, was now a liability, a toxic brand. His social media presence, which I had helped him build, became a cesspool of condemnation and ridicule. He was no longer the charming, innovative architect. He was the hypocrite, the abuser of trust, the man who used his power to exploit a junior colleague. Jessica, the other woman, also faced consequences, though not as severe. Her career at the firm was over, and her reputation was tarnished by association. The initial wave of satisfaction was intoxicating. A primal roar of vindication echoed in my soul. I had done it. I had made him pay, not with physical pain, but with the destruction of the very thing he held most dear. He had taken my future, and I had taken his. It felt like justice, cold and absolute. But as the dust settled, a strange emptiness began to creep in. The intense focus, the adrenaline of the revenge, had masked the deeper wound. The pain of his betrayal was still there, a phantom limb aching with what was lost. Destroying his reputation hadn't magically healed my heart. It hadn't brought back the years I'd invested, the dreams we'd shared, or the person I was before he shattered my trust. The satisfaction was fleeting, a temporary high that left a void in its wake. I realized then that revenge, while cathartic, was not a path to true healing. It was a detour, a necessary act of reclaiming my power, but not the destination. I had reduced him to what he truly was, a man devoid of integrity, but in doing so I had also spent a significant amount of my own energy, my own emotional capital on him. The lesson I learned was profound. While it felt good to see him fall, the real work of rebuilding my life had to come from within. I needed to disconnect from his narrative, from the story of his betrayal and my revenge, and focus on my story. I needed to rediscover who Amelia was, independent of Marcus, independent of the pain he inflicted. I started therapy, addressing the deep-seated trauma of the betrayal. I reconnected with friends and family, allowing myself to be vulnerable and supported. I poured my energy back into my career, not for revenge, but for my own growth and fulfillment. I learned to trust my instincts again, to recognize red flags, and to value my self-worth above any external validation. Marcus disappeared from the public eye. His name became a cautionary tale in industry circles. I occasionally saw articles referencing his downfall, a fleeting mention of the architect involved in a major scandal. Each time, a flicker of that cold satisfaction would return, but it was quickly overshadowed by a sense of detachment. He was a chapter closed, a painful but necessary part of my journey. I am still healing, still rebuilding. The scars remain, a testament to a battle fought and won, but also a reminder of the cost of misplaced trust. I understand now that while I destroyed his reputation, the most important reputation I saved was my own. The reputation I had with myself, of being strong, resilient, and capable of rising from the ashes, not defined by the man who tried to break me, but by the woman who refused to stay broken.